Hello and welcome to Mission in Focus. In this webinar, I'm joined by Professor Mike Gaffney to talk about evaluating an organisation's formation program. We talk about why you should evaluate and some of the practical ways to carry out an effective evaluation. And, as Mike explains, what is revealed during a formation evaluation can be a real gift. Mike, you do a lot of work forming leaders. Why is it important to evaluate formation efforts?
Well, Margaret, I think there are three main reasons why people would want to evaluate formation. And the first of those has to do with the spirituality and the culture of the organisation. Related to that are issues and questions of authenticity and alignment. How and to what extent do members of the organisation, including the management and executive, understand the meaning and the purpose of their work and the mission of the organisation? That's a very, very crucial aspect of organisations and formation evaluation. The second reason has to do with investment and accountability. Formation programs cost money, and it's money that could be spent on other priorities and programs. So it's important from a stakeholder expectation and from a participant perspective to make sure that those resources, those scarce resources, are spent well. The third area has to do with organisational learning and development. The process of formation has value for the individual as well as the organisation. So a third reason for evaluating formation programs has to do with what changes have been brought about in behaviours, in outlook, in perspective, and what implications that has for the future of the organisation. What does the organisation itself, the ministry, the agency, learn from the experience of the people that have been involved in the formation program? So there are really three areas, I think. One has to do with the spirituality and the culture aspect of the organisation. The second has to do with investment and accountability, stewardship if you like. And the third has to do with organisational learning and development.
Mike, for someone who hasn't had any experience with evaluating formation, but they want to get started, what advice would you give to them?
Well, I think the first bit of advice is don't be scared about it. I think to think very carefully and practically about why you would want to evaluate formation, the audience that would be involved, who's going to be involved, and the context that your organisation is currently in. If you take the first of those, why would you want to do it? Well, I think in terms of reasons, you can look at it in terms of getting some sort of grasp on the level of consensus and alignment in terms of people's understanding about mission and purpose of their work. The second aspect about audience, who is it that would be the audience for this, and who would be participating, who are the key stakeholders, and the third aspect of, I suppose, context of the organisation. What is it that's most pressing, or what are the organisational priorities? And what time and space are available within busy organisational life to go about the process of evaluation? So to think very carefully, not be scared about it, but to think very carefully about questions about why, the reasons why you'd want to do it, the people, the who, the audience for the formation evaluation, and thirdly, that aspect of context, that you can match your evaluation to suit the state of the organisation.
What's something specific that organisations might learn through evaluating their formation?
It is a fascinating question about what organisations learn from, or can learn from formation and evaluation of formation. But it's important to realise that when we talk about organisational learning, we're really talking about the hearts and the minds and the hands of the people that are involved. It can be a very personal, individual thing, and it's when you have those individuals getting together and saying, I didn't understand, I thought I did, but I didn't quite understand the depth and the breadth of the heritage of our organisation. I didn't appreciate fully what it means to understand Catholic social teaching and how that might apply to my everyday work. In our work with patients, the way that we handle admissions, in a school setting that I've worked in, the understanding of the richness of the tradition and how much of a resource that can be for saying, right, these are fundamentals for us. This is what we believe about the nature of human nature. This is what we believe about the mission and purpose of our organisation. And so some things can change, but other things are fairly stable and fundamental. I think they're questions to do with the organisational learning in the ways that people become more comfortable talking about what it means to be in a Catholic hospital or in a Catholic school, particularly in these times when it's so important to say that clearly, that it is about witness, that it is about the common good, that it is about preferential option for the poor. These are sorts of things that are really important and that people can quite easily mouth but not fully understand. Organisational learning is evident when people are quite comfortable talking about that. Doesn't make the questions any easier to answer, but it certainly gives a far richer basis for discussion.
So sometimes it might be the process of evaluation leading to understanding that people have taken messages on board.
I think the importance of evaluation in that context is that it provides evidence of the changes in beliefs and practices that participants and understandings that participants are experiencing. And when that is fed back, it provides a wonderful basis for further development, for evaluation, not just of the formation program, but of the direction of the organisation. We didn't realise that for example, the iconography of the institution, the symbolism, the sacramental aspects of our work and of the building had such significance, or potentially such significance, and can be of such a wonderful support to our day-to-day work.
Mike, let's talk about designing an evaluation process.
The elements that need to go into any evaluation design are essentially the same ones that we're talking about here in terms of formation in particular. So it's important to have a clear purpose, to understand the reasons why you're taking it on as an evaluation process. It's important to consider the criteria that you're using to assess the effectiveness and the impact of the evaluation. The criteria to do with particular types of changes in people's behaviour and understanding, or particular types of organisational impacts to do with improving policy or streamlining programs, highlighting what's important in strategic planning, those sorts of things. So purpose and criteria. The third aspect has to do with participants and audience. Who is most important to be involved? Taking the Catholic social teaching principle of participation, that question of who becomes really important and significant. People should be involved if they're affected by a decision and or they have the expertise to contribute to that decision. So in evaluating formation, yeah, it's important to involve the participants, but it's important to involve selected other people as well. Then it becomes a question of what time and space is available, what budget has been allocated, and what sorts of data collection instruments are we going to use and how are they going to be staged. So there's nothing surprising there in terms of how you'd collect data through observation, through reflection, journaling, through surveys, through interviews and so on. And there is, I suppose it's reassuring to know that there is no one set perfect model for evaluation. And then the final step is to consider the analysis. What is going to happen with the data that you are collecting? So it's always important to design your instruments with an eye to how am I going to make sense of this, and then how am I going to communicate it to the people to whom it really needs to be communicated, so that we can make sense of the conclusions and have practical, engaging recommendations that are feasible and help to ensure the future of the organisation.
Mike, a final word about evaluating formation?
It's not just, are we up to the mark in terms of what we say we're doing. It's also an aspect, an element that allows the organisation to be forward-looking, to say, right, this is how our members, our organisational members, our staff, our key managers, our executive, this is how they're understanding. This is how they are questioning. These are the possibilities that they see for the future of the organisation based on the formation that they've had, the grounding that they've had. That's a gift, and but it's also a treasure that needs to be wisely used.
For more Mission in Focus episodes, visit the Catholic Health Australia website and follow the links on our homepage. I'm Margaret Deeren. Thanks for being part of the conversation.